Hi, welcome to Big Daddy Bakes. I'm Big Daddy, and today we're going to be making maple oat bread. In Vermont, where I live, it's starting to be the maple season, and that got me to thinking about making a Swedish bread, not as in Sweden, but in Swedish, that it's a little bit sweet. And so I had the idea for some maple bread, and then I decided to use maple oat bread. It's really delicious, and I think you're going to enjoy learning how to make it. So let's get to it. I'll show you how to do it. For this recipe, you will need 3.5 to 4 cups of bread flour, 2 tablespoons of sunflower oil, 1 cup of boiling water, 1/3 cup of water that's between 105 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 cup of old-fashioned oats, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of instant yeast, and a 1/2 cup of maple syrup. You will also need an egg white and about 2 tablespoons of oats that we'll be putting on the top of the bread. What you're going to need to do to start this recipe is take your oats. These are old-fashioned oats. Don't use instant, don't use quick. To get the actual texture that we want in the bread, you have to have the old-fashioned oats. And then I've got 1 cup of boiling water, which I'm going to pour over that. I'm going to let this sit for about 20 minutes until the water gets to about 110 degrees, 105 degrees, in that range. You must get it cool before you go on to the next part of the recipe. So, as you can see, the oatmeal has absorbed most of the water, and I'm just going to temp this, and it shows it's around 105, somewhere in that area. It took 20 minutes to get to that point. So at this point we can continue on with our recipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the water, the maple syrup. When you're getting maple syrup to use in this recipe, try to get dark amber. Sometimes if you can find a grade B, it has more flavor than the light colored ones. So I'm going to add our yeast, the sunflower oil, and then what's left over for this recipe is the salt and flour. I'm going to go ahead and add the salt to my flour so I don't forget to put it in. But right now I'm just going to stir this mixture together, get it all incorporated. And then I'm going to start adding in my flour. You want a dough that is just not sticky. So I'll probably have to turn this out on the board at some point and continue on adding flour. I'll put in the rest of the flour and leave about 1/2 cup, and I'll see if I need it. Chances are I will, but it's just according to the weather, how dry it is in your house, how dry the flour is. There's lots of things that make it so it looks like it needs some more. So now I'm just going to start kneading with my hand, trying to get everything incorporated. And this dough may or may not take all that flour. We'll see. I'm just trying to bring it together. So I'm going to tip this out onto the board, and I'll continue kneading on the board. You're going to need to knead this for about 6 minutes or so. And I don't think I'm going to put any more of that flour into it right now. So my dough is nice and elastic and smooth. It took about 6 minutes to knead it to this point. So I'm going to put it in a bowl, and I'm going to cover it with cling film, and it should take about an hour to an hour and a half for this to rise. So our dough has doubled in volume. I'm going to take it out pan, and I'm going to press out all the oil, all the air. And then I have a 9-inch cake pan here that I have sprayed some oil into, and I'm going to put this in this pan. I'm going to let this rise for another 45 minutes, and it will get up almost to the top of the pan, and then we'll bake it. Okay, our bread has risen, and it's ready to go in the oven. I've already preheated the oven to 350 degrees. I slightly beat this egg white just to break it up a little bit, and I'm just going to gently put it on top of the bread. And we're going to do this in order to make the oats stick to it. Alright. Then I'm just going to scatter my oats on the top of it. Alright, I'm going to bake this. It will take between 30 and 35 minutes. So our bread has come out of the oven. It's temping at 191 degrees, which is perfect. So we're going to take it out of the pan. It's just easier just to kind of tip it out and hold it and let it sit on the rack. I suggest letting this cool completely before eating it. So here is our maple oat bread. It's delicious. It has just a tiny hint of maple flavor, and it's slightly sweet, not very sweet. It's very good. It's a beautiful loaf, and the inside is soft and moist. I think you'll enjoy making this recipe. Thank you so much for joining me here on Big Daddy Bakes. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing and perhaps share it with a friend. Thank you so much.